Somewhere along the way, we were taught that being human means being happy all the time. That to be successful, lovable, worthy, we have to smile through the pain, stay positive, keep going, and never let the sadness show. So we learned how to hide. We learned how to say, "I'm fine," when we're not. We learned how to post the highlight reel, even when our hearts feel like they're falling apart. We learned how to wear happiness like a costume. Behind that mask, we slowly began to believe that something must be wrong with us if we didn't feel good all the time. That maybe we're broken. Maybe we're ungrateful. Maybe we just need to try harder. But the truth is, feeling down doesn't mean you're failing. Feeling anxious doesn't mean you're weak. Feeling sad doesn't mean you're not trying hard enough. It just means you're human. There is no rule that says you must be cheerful to be enough. There is no gold star for pretending you're okay when you're not. You don't have to be happy all the time to be loved, to be respected, to belong here. You just have to be real. Just think positive. Look on the bright side. This could be worse. At least you're alive. Have you heard those before? Words meant to help, but sometimes they hurt more than silence, because they carry an unspoken message. Your pain makes me uncomfortable, so please pretend it's not there. It's what we call toxic positivity. The demand for light, even when someone is sitting in the dark. It's the smile you force because you don't want to bring others down. It's the guilt you feel for being sad when others have it worse. It's the voice that says, "If I'm not happy, I must be ungrateful." But the truth is, real life is not all light. Real life includes shadows, storms, grief, rage, and days when the world feels too heavy to hold. And when someone tells you to just stay positive while you're drowning, it doesn't save you. It invalidates you. It teaches you to silence your own truth in order to make others more comfortable. And over time, that silence turns into shame. Shame for not smiling. Shame for not bouncing back fast enough. Shame for simply being human. But hear this. You are allowed to feel deeply. You're allowed to hurt without explaining yourself. You are allowed to fall apart without rushing to fix it. The goal is not to avoid sadness. The goal is to make space for all of you, the joy, the grief, the confusion, the quiet, the rage, the numbness. You weren't meant to live inside a filter. You were meant to live fully. Fully includes pain. Somewhere along the way, we started treating sadness like it was something to be ashamed of. Like it was a sign of weakness. Or worse, a sign of failure. You're still upset about that? Haven't you moved on yet? Stop being so emotional. These are the phrases that turn healing into hiding. We stuff the tears back in. We fake strength. And we tell ourselves, if I were stronger, I wouldn't feel this way. But that's a lie. Feeling sadness doesn't make you fragile. It makes you honest, because sadness is not a glitch. It's not a malfunction. It's the body and soul saying something mattered. Sadness is love with nowhere to go. It's memory loss, longing, and truth, all speaking at once. You don't cry because you're broken. You cry because you're real, in a world that teaches us to smile through everything. Allowing yourself to feel is an act of quiet rebellion. Here's the thing. Most people never learned how to be sad safely. We were taught how to suppress, not how to hold. How to numb, not how to honor. No one told us that grief can sit beside joy. That tears and strength can share the same heart. You can have bad days and still be a good person. You can struggle and still be growing. You can feel like everything is falling apart and still be on your way to something beautiful. Sadness doesn't mean you're going backward. Sometimes it means you're becoming more alive. Because to feel deeply is to be connected to the depth of what it means to be human. You are not behind because you feel sad. You're not broken because you feel pain. You're exactly where you need to be. In the middle of it, with your heart still open, what if your emotions weren't mistakes to fix, but messages to hear. What if anxiety isn't your enemy? Your system saying, I don't feel safe. What if sadness isn't weakness, but your heart whispering, I missed something that mattered? You've been taught to fear your feelings, to stuff them down, to be strong, to snap out of it. But feelings aren't failures. They're feedback. Imagine your emotions as visitors, each one knocking at your door with something to say. Anger arrives, pounding loud. You slam the door shut, but it keeps knocking because it's trying to tell you something crossed your boundary. Guilt shows up quietly, avoiding eye contact. But if you listen, it might say, that wasn't in line with who you are. Even numbness, the emotion that feels like no emotion, is a message. A sign your system is overwhelmed and trying to protect you. You were never meant to ignore these visitors. You were meant to welcome them in, sit with them, and ask, what are you trying to teach me? And know this isn't easy. Sitting with emotion takes courage, because it means facing truths you've spent years avoiding. But when you stop running, something amazing happens. You realize the monster was never trying to hurt you. It was trying to protect something soft. That grief, it's proof that you loved. That rage means something deeply matters to you. That fear, it's your body trying to keep you safe. These feelings aren't problems, they're parts of you, and they deserve to be seen, not silenced. Healing doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you learn how to listen. You learn that emotions don't come to destroy you. They come to deliver a message. And once you hear it, they soften, they settle. They stop screaming because finally you're listening. There's a pressure we rarely talk about. The pressure to look happy, not be happy, but look like it. Scroll through your feed. Everyone's smiling. Everyone's thriving. Everyone's living their best life. Or at least that's what they want you to believe. And so, we start to perform. We filter the sadness, crop out the anxiety. We caption pain with emojis. We tell ourselves no one wants to hear this part. And slowly, happiness becomes a mask. One we wear to survive, to belong, to avoid questions we don't have answers to. But the longer you perform, the more disconnected you become from your truth, from your body, from the parts of you that are begging to be held, not hidden. The performance costs more than it gives, isolates, it exhausts. It teaches you to betray yourself for approval. And here's the thing. People might applaud your mask, but deep down, you'll always know it's not really you they're clapping for. Real connection doesn't come from perfection. It comes from honesty. From the moments you say, today was hard. I'm not okay right now. I don't have it all together. These words, the ones we were taught to avoid, are often the ones that make people feel less alone. Because the truth is, nobody feels happy all the time. Nobody is always fine. Even the people with the brightest smiles carry shadows in their hearts. But when we perform happiness, we create a world where suffering has no space, and that silence becomes a prison. You weren't born to be a brand. You weren't made to be palatable. You were made to be whole, and whole means all of it. Laughter, the confusion, the anger. The nights you can't sleep, the days you want to disappear. Stop performing for people who only love your highlight reel. Show up for yourself. Because your truth, even when messy, is more beautiful than any illusion you could create. There is a kind of freedom that doesn't come from being happy all the time, but from being allowed to feel it all. Freedom is not the absence of sadness. It's the absence of shame for being sad. It's not about fixing yourself so you can finally feel okay. It's about realizing you were never broken for feeling deeply in the first place. Imagine living in a world where crying isn't embarrassing, where saying I'm not okay isn't seen as a weakness, but a sign of honesty, where we don't rush people to heal, but hold space for them to unfold. That world begins when you start with you, when you stop judging your emotions, when you stop policing your own heart, and you say to yourself, I give myself permission to feel, and yes, Feeling it all is not easy, it's messy, it's raw. Some days it's too much, but numbness has a cost. Denial has a price. You weren't built for numb, you were built for depth. You were made to break open and bloom again, over and over and over. Feeling fully means you will hurt, but it also means you'll laugh louder. Breathe deeper, love harder. Show up in your life with your entire soul present. There's nothing weak about crying in the bathroom and then returning to your day. With your head still up, that is strength, that is courage. You don't have to be the strong one who never cracks. You can be the one who feels everything and still chooses to rise. This is the real kind of freedom. It's a kind that doesn't wait for your life to be perfect. It simply waits for you to be honest. And once you stop trying to edit yourself into someone else's version of fine, you'll realize there's nothing more peaceful than being fully, unapologetically yourself. Listen, you were never meant to be perfect. We're meant to be real. Real means flawed, soft, shifting, hurting, healing, wondering, growing, breaking, and still going. But you are not broken because you feel too much. You are not weak because the world overwhelms you sometimes. You're not behind because your smile isn't always ready. You are human, and that is enough. The goal is not to erase your darkness. It's to bring a candle into it and sit there a while. It's not to fix the feeling, but to say, I'm here with you. Because healing doesn't always look like sunshine. Sometimes it looks like crying in silence, getting out of bed anyway, texting a friend just to say I need you. Sometimes healing is canceling plans and choosing rest instead of productivity. Sometimes it's choosing yourself. In a world that taught you to perform, you don't need to get over it. You don't need to snap out of it. You don't need to be okay just to deserve love. You already do. People who matter will never require you to be anything other than real. They won't flinch when you cry or back away when you tell the truth. They'll stay. Because the real you is worth staying for. So breathe, cry, rest. Laugh when it comes naturally. Stop trying to hold everything together all the time. Let things fall apart when they need to. Sometimes it's in the falling that something softer gets born. You don't have to be happy all the time. You don't have to be strong every day. You just have to be here, breathing, honest, alive. That's the only miracle you ever needed to be. This is quiet philosophy, where thinking isn't loud, and life doesn't need to be either. Subscribe if you haven't already, not for noise, but for something you can actually feel.